Hello and welcome to another video. In today's video we are continuing with our 3 Rideamatics project, and we've had a bit of a move around. We have our 1961 Rideamatic on our static bench and our 1962, the orange 1962, on the hydraulic bench, which hopefully won't be staying on there for too long today, because today we're going to do a couple of outstanding jobs and then we'll be seeing if this will start and drive. Since the last video, our fuel tank sealer had completely set, so we put the fuel tank on, then we connected up a fuel line, turned the fuel tap on, and all the fuel fell out. But not out of the fuel tank this time. No, we had multiple leaks along here, so this took us quite a while to kind of sort them all out. First thing we did was we replaced the old sediment bowl with a new one, which we had a few of these in stock, so that wasn't too much of a problem. This we reckon we can probably fix in future so that holds fuel again, especially seeing as these are quite rare, so it'd be nice to kind of refurbish an old one. And then we connected it up again and the fuel started falling out of the carburetor again. So we took the bowl off the carburetor with it still on the tractor, or with it still attached to the engine, sorry, and we reseated the fuel inlet valve, and that seemed to all be working all right after that. So we connected it back up again, and it didn't seem to leak, so we thought we'd fix the issue, but then we came into the workshop this morning, having left it for a little while, and this was the state of the air filter. It's absolutely soaked in fuel, really not helpful. And that is from fuel going straight through that valve and the float and everything not shutting it off, then going up the carburetor into the air intake. So we took the carburetor fully off this morning and then used one of our Kohler rebuild kits that we've got to put a new valve and new valve, I forgot what it's called now. Valve seat in there. So hopefully that will have solved the issue. And it's not leaking at the moment, new air filter and everything as well. And the fuel tap is on at the moment, and we haven't seen any leaks. That's been on for at least 5-10 minutes now, and it's not leaking at all. So we're hoping it's going to stay that way. We're going to do the last couple of jobs that we have on this tractor with it like it is, and watch to see if that leaks in any way. We just went in for a bit of food, and we've come back and there's no fuel leaks or anything, so we're happy with that for the moment at least. And it means we're happy to do this as a next step, which is fitting the hood and the grille to the front. Now, fitting the hood or bonnet to a 1962 Rideamatic has to be one of the more difficult jobs on these tractors. Everything else seems relatively straightforward, and if we were to ever do a paint restoration on one of these, I think we'd probably put the steering wheel on after we've put the bonnet on, and I'll now show you why. Because to put the hinge on, you have to kind of line this up with both sides, which it never seems to want to do. Obviously, if this was painted up, I would have been scratching everything then. I've actually pushed that too far back now, so the hinge has gone on the wrong side of the dash tower. So it's got to sit somewhere there, and then we've got to get the bolts in, which is definitely going to be a 2-person job. Then obviously once you've got the bolts through, you still have to put the nuts on the other side of them and do them up, which is very difficult. So we're going to try to get you set up on a tripod so that me and Dad can try to do this both at the same time on camera, and we'll have to see how that goes. You are now on the tripod, And at the end of the last piece of video, I was actually pretty much perfectly lined up with this bonnet, so I've been trying to hold it exactly where I was while the cameraman was setting up the tripod, and he gets to make his every now and then appearance. So if you'd like to try and push those bolts through, then effectively once my cameraman's got those lined up, I'm going to lift the bonnet up. The bolts should hopefully hold the hinge in place, and then we can try and get the stay in. Is that?
Yeah, but we try and push both bolts through at the same time. Right, lift.
Okay. Yeah, they look to be holding at the moment, so that's good. And the hinge is actually in decent condition on this bonnet, so it's not like it's seized and pulling massively on the bolts. Stay pulled down for a minute. Not sure how well you can see this on camera, because obviously there's quite a thick bit of panelling in between where you are and what Dad's doing currently, but he's just putting the nuts on the back of those bolts, which I don't think I'd mentioned this yet, but we'd put the battery. There goes one of the nuts. That's the issue with doing this job, it's very hard to get to everything. We disconnected the battery because the permanent positive leads are right where Dad's hands are right now, and the entire chassis metalwork is meant to be earthed, so that would have been spark or electric shock central if we didn't. And obviously you don't really want to be doing this with gloves on, with how difficult it is to get those nuts on normally. But by the looks of it, he's actually managed it, well done. So we'll just look at lining up this stay now, then everything just needs tightening out. Got that?
No.
We probably should have looked at cleaning these bolts up beforehand, but that's not really a problem. So that's all roughly connected, and we'll come back to you in a minute, hopefully with this all done up properly. The hood is fully done up now, and you can better see with this torch in here the issues that we were facing. Now that nut is quite easy to get to, whereas the one on the other side, which we dropped, is much more difficult to get a hand in there. Surprisingly, we didn't actually have to take the fuel cap off, which I think we had to do on the red 1962. But you can also see those red wires in there are the permanent positive wires, so that wouldn't have been very nice if we had the battery connected. But the hood stay is also on there now, and that works as it should be. Now obviously the missing part from the puzzle is the grille, which I will now put on. We've already removed the nuts from this engine stud and the two engine mounting bolts here. So to put this on as we have it, you kind of have to put this on the top and then slide the bottom part under. Usually you would leave this bracket mounted to the engine, but seeing as we have it like this, we're not going to take it off just to do that. So that goes on there. Then I've just got to make sure that these bolts are up and out of the way. Give it a bit of a push, and that should be pretty much lined up. So now I just need to push those bolts back down and do up all of the nuts. We now have the grille fully in place, and it fits very nicely around the engine. I think that's one of my favourite things about the looks of one of these tractors, is how well it all kind of fits together shape-wise. And if I drop the lid here, we can see that all fits together nicely. So with that all together, the last thing to do is to connect up the battery again, take this off the bench and wheel it outside to give it a bit of a test, see if it runs and drives. Now, outside in the UK today, it is 6 degrees Celsius with an easterly wind, which makes it feel like -2 according to our weather app, which for those of you in America, I believe that is 42 degrees Fahrenheit and then 28 degrees Fahrenheit if you take the wind chill into account. So not dreadfully nice outside, but we'll still give it a go because we want to see, after all of the work from this engine swap, whether this runs and drives. We have this on the floor now, and we're going to try to start it inside due to the delightful weather outside, just in case it doesn't work. But we've pushed the gold 1962 out of the way of the door so we can go straight out, and it also gives us a bit of a lineup of 3 of our 4 1962 Rideamatics, which this pretty much never happens here in the UK, so this is quite nice to have all 3 next to each other, and hopefully we'll be able to say that all 3 run by the end of today, but we will have to see. So I will give this a bit of choke and we'll see if it'll start. Warm up and then we can go.
I need a bit of throttle as well.
So we've just given the tractor about a 10-minute run, as you've just seen, and we came in as it started to rain because we didn't fancy any of that. But we thought that this ran quite nicely, actually. I've always liked how this engine sounded when we tested it before, and it still sounds quite nice. We did notice it smoked a bit at times, but I think we have an explanation for that, which is, if we look at the exhaust pipe here, the fake chrome paint is peeling off, but that's fine. Once all of that's off, that will probably stop smoking. But this engine does sound quite quiet. There was a noise coming from the front, which I believe to be noisy bearings in the starter generator. Not too big of an issue. And the back axle did seem quite noisy as well. I'm sure you heard that on the video. So that probably needs looking into. But some of the back axles on these Bolens tend to be a bit noisy. Just need to make sure that that isn't going to be a problem in future. But now we can class this as a working tractor, and if we think back to when we got this, and a bit of history about this tractor, I'm not sure if we've actually talked about this before. This came from an airbase south of Cambridge, and the airbase that this came from housed or was home to Spitfires during the Second World War, and also hosted the Canadian 411 Squadron around the same time, and then later became a US airbase here in the UK. And obviously this tractor won't have been around at that time, seeing as it's 1962, but I'm sure this saw plenty of action mowing the grass around the airbase, seeing as this has its original deck hangers on there, although there wasn't a deck with it when we bought the tractor. I'm sure that rotted out many years beforehand. And then when we bought it and Dad went to pick it up, this was sat next to a skip in quite a sorry state. So it's good that we've kind of brought it back to its former glory when it comes to running. Obviously, we could go further and do a full paint restoration, but that is something for the future. And when it comes to how much this owes us, I mean, we spent £175 on it in the state that it was in, and the only money we've spent on it really is getting those Rideamatic parts from America. The replacement engine we didn't spend too much on, and we bought that a few years ago, and a battery, and away it went. So I think we're definitely ahead when it comes to the value of this tractor, and we can now class that as a working tractor, which means 2 of the 3 machines in this 3 Rideamatics project now work, just waiting on the 1961, which really isn't that far away, I don't think. So lots to be hopeful about with these projects. Please do let us know in the comment section down below what you think about our new running tractor. There are still a couple of jobs that we need to do on this, one of which is to put some replacement tubes in it, since I think we have a slow puncture on that side. But overall, we're very happy with where we are with this tractor after today. So that is it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.